Yeah. I feel like that you guys were 10 and 10.
Again, I would roll up and sleep, but it wasn't a full-on takedown. Like, I was trying to see it. Nope. My family. Folks, don't forget, your support makes this show possible. Remember, join JordanSports.com. What do you do? Support the show, and you get extra content every single freaking day. Don't forget, Nomi Show, Tuesdays, Thursdays. Check it out at youtube.com/Nomi Show. Matt, what's happening in the Matt Leckian universe?
Yeah, on Wednesday, which is the new night for Left Reckoning, we had Austin Gonzalez at the Bate out talk about international trips to Peru and Venezuela with the PSA. So that was a really interesting episode. Patreon.com/Left Reckoning, we're going to bonus coming out. So, access to that. Patreon.com/Left Reckoning or subscribe to YouTube.
Also, we have a latest more business today. We'll do it next week. But, well, we'll talk about that. I don't want to go into that. Say goodbye to somebody, say hello to somebody, but big story. Folks, see you in the fun. All right, folks, 646-257-3920. See you in the fun. Who said that?
Alpha males are back. The alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you can imagine.
The alpha males are back. And the alpha males are back.
Just wanted to break the white land.
The alpha males are back.
Honest, take all of it,
Alpha males are back.
Stop the excess one.
The alpha males are back.
You're on a path.
The alpha males are back.
Oh no, damn shit. What a fucking nightmare. Yeah, or no, it's flipping rotation.
Well, the problem with those is they're like 45 seconds long, so I don't know. That's the problem.
See, white people doing drugs are worse than normal white people. All white people are the scum.
And the alpha males are psycho.
Fuck them.
Stop the excess one.
What?
Stop the excess one. Hell of a lot of back. I'm making stupid money. Hell of a lot of back.
All lives matter.
Have you tried doing an impression on a college campus? I think that there's no reason why reasonable people across the divide can't all agree with this. Psych. And the alpha males are back. And the Africans are black. African. And the alpha males are black. And the Africans are back.
See y'all love out there doesn't a little party and think that America deserves to be taken over by the honest. Keep it at 100. You can't knock us. Come on, welcome.
Things I know from clear game play.
By the way, it's my birthday.
I have a project status for you. The alpha males are black. Africans are black. Alpha males are black. Africans are black.
Come on. Some of these are big much wild to be around here. I am a total pussy. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Number 646-257-3920 is the phone number. We got full, well, Friday finally we're going to have a full-on fun night. Oh gosh, where should we start? We got a lot of clips today. They're just gone. They're just consumed. Let's start with Tucker Carlson's sort of ongoing flirtation, if you can say that, with anti-vaxxers. This guy just, it is.
I don't know if it's flirtation anymore. They've gotten to second base.
Did you play the clip the other day of Jesse Waters and Tucker Carlson?
No.
Oh, you know what?
Native Labs?
Yeah. We should pull that up. Because I want to play that as well. That clip was just the most reprehensible thing. And the thing about this clip, do we have it easy presented? Okay, all right, well, let's go with this one first.
I have it now.
Okay, all right, so let's play this clip just to start this off. Because I meant to play this the other day, but, we got tied up with the chair and thing. This is so reprehensible. It is reprehensible in all of the ways that Fox is. But if you watch with Jesse Waters, he's also horrible. He's like Tucker Carlson's prototype, and Jesse Waters is sort of romance Tucker Carlson. But what's important to watch here is also Tucker's face when Waters says this stuff. Because you can see that Tucker almost laughs. And he doesn't want to break the idea that, like, he knows, the thing about Tucker Carlson that's really good, Waters is very similar as well. He doesn't care about anything. This guy cares only about putting on a show that he thinks is going to drive viewership. Period. End of story. That's it. And you can see him almost laugh at what Waters says, but then he tries to, hold it in. Not because they're doing a comedy thing, and I've been in that situation, but because he gets a kick out of this and knows that his audience is going to laugh at him. He is the same way that he will go out and promote the rock board. He didn't care at all about it. He didn't care.
It's a game, this like mass manipulation of swaths of vulnerable people. I don't know what's worse if you actually genuinely believe this. I think actually no, what he does is worse.
That is like an age-old debate, right? But,
right.
Here it is. And then, of course, what Waters is saying in and of itself is also
the people who run the country are telling us two things. One, the country's not worth having, it's terrible. And two, despite being the most powerful people in the country, they're oppressed. How should we interpret this?
Well, first, we did not steal this land.
The most powerful people in the country acting like they're oppressed, it's almost like that's projection.
He's talking about Cori Bush.
Yeah.
And specifically, right? So she's speaking out. Now, of course, she's not speaking out for just herself. She's speaking out on behalf of her constituents. In many respects, also, referring to the experience of Black people, people of color in this country, and that's the one. That, again, in Tucker's world, there is a massive anti-white bias against white people in this country.
They being the most powerful people in the country, they're oppressed. How should we interpret this?
Well, first, we did not steal this land. We won this land on the battlefield, and the rest we purchased from the Europeans. So I don't know what Congresswoman Bush wants us to do. Are we supposed to give the Dakotas back to Crazy Horse's family? Are we supposed to give California back to Mexico? As tempting as that sounds, Tucker, it's not a good idea. Then she says blacks aren't free in this country. Blacks are free except from the Democrat Party, and many blacks have said that themselves. Then there's
many blacks.
Many blacks have said that themselves. Yeah. The idea that we have won that on the battle. We won it at a micro level.
first, and then the emphasis on conquest is really just to obscure the fact that real U.S.-Indian relations is about mendacious diplomacy. Like, oh yeah, we'll maintain this, but like for instance, like the famous Manhattan trade, where it's like, oh, they don't know the value of Manhattan. No, that was just a symbolic ritual to allow people to pass on to the land, right?
Like they didn't have an understanding of property rights in the way that the United States.
Right.
And genocide is just a display of our God-given rights, and that's very justified.
Like just the mentions the Sioux. Look at the Sioux in Minnesota, and just the settling of Minnesota, and just the lies and withholding of even legal promises that we made to those people before we just genocided them on the Missouri River Rebellion, or the Minnesota River Rebellion, pushed them into the Dakotas. I mean, that's fundamentally what the Daily Wire folks, when they emphasize conquest, it's really the history is mendacious diplomacy.
Which is not, like that's even so. In addition to conquest being something that you don't necessarily rack.
Okay, we conquest land if we have the military availability to do it, and then when we can, we sign these treaties, and when we break them, as soon as we can use force to give them the ball.
And I would also say that Waters is onto something. We should give back, at least the national parks that we stole from indigenous people. It would actually be, that makes sense both in terms of justice and policy perspective. But putting that aside, and then you can see, Tucker is desperately trying to maintain this, like, oh, I can't believe Waters is doing this. You know they're going out and having a drink afterwards and just laughing about how they, what they get away with in selling their white nationalist base. It really is just sharp.
It's performance art, basically. And then, at the same time,
Horrible performance art. With horrible implications, but yes.
Well, right, if you look at it from like a meta viewpoint, it's certainly performance art in terms of representing what fascism looks like or fascist propaganda in real time. Jesse Waters is 43 years old. What person that age refers to black people as blacks if they're not doing it just specifically to appeal to
Someone whose entire intellectual project began under the tutelage of Bill O'Reilly.
and somebody who's appealing primarily to Bill O'Reilly's age cohort,
Yes.
the 70-plus-year-olds who are falling asleep in front of the TV watching Tucker Carlson, getting their fear fix in before bedtime.
That's right. You got to get an update on the race war, and Tucker's there to give it to you. Meanwhile, for those of you who watch Tucker Carlson, not for the race war material, but rather for looking for some type of advice on the pandemic, here's Tucker Carlson. We got two clips from Tucker just to give you a sense of just like how this guy is willing to get around. Here he is, just yesterday, talking about the implications of pushing people to get a COVID vaccine. And remember, there are somewhere between 3.5 dozen, at least, vaccinations that your child must get if you want them to attend public school. We have vaccination requirements across the board.
But this is a new one, so.
Right. Here is a
It's equal, right?
It's more than.
The federal government spends huge amounts of tax dollars fighting all kinds of diseases, not just COVID. There's cancer, AIDS, tuberculosis, hepatitis, heart disease, diabetes, and many, many more. Each one of these illnesses is its own kind of emergency. Each one kills an awful lot of people. In some cases, kills far more people than COVID has. So does the Biden administration have the right, based on the money they spend fighting these diseases, to your medical information? Do they have the right to know your HIV status? Why not? Can HHS force you to take antibiotics for your TB? How about Xanax for your anxiety, Thorazine for your mania? And while we're at it, why are we letting irresponsible, defective people reproduce? Vagrants, mental patients, even QAnon people, all allowed to have children. Why is that? Why are we sterilizing them? sound crazy. It's happened before on a huge scale.
Yes, to Black people and Indigenous people and people of Latino descent. And Tucker, if he were alive during those times, it's literally was happening in ICE facilities. By the way, he said nothing about that, about forced sterilization of women in migrant detention facilities. And if he was around many years ago, he would be incredibly supportive of that project.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that, the slippery slope, if you require vaccinations, or I guess, I don't even know, he is implying that the government is doing something, far more than it's doing in terms of vaccinations, simply encouraging people to get vaccinations and reporting on the fact that people who are dying of COVID now are doing so needlessly. And the primary reason why a lot of people are not getting vaccinated is completely tied into people like Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannon and Donald Trump. And every day that goes by now, we're watching the statistics roll in. You have more and more people. There is a researchers at Georgetown University. A number of under-vaccinated clusters in the United States that pose a significant threat to the nation's and potentially the world's progress against COVID-19, because that's why we're starting to see massive rates of infection going up.
And it's this Delta variant, which some of the numbers on this are just like absolutely insane, right? People with the Delta variant, they found had 1,000 times more copies of the virus in their respiratory tracts than with the original virus, and it's just going to keep getting worse and worse. It also makes it way more contagious. People are contagious earlier on after being infected when they have the Delta variant, and it's going to continue to metastasize, and new variants are going to come to the fore. The longer people don't get vaccinated, that is just the reality of the matter, and Tucker is as complicit as anybody in the continuation of that project, and the most, in fact, probably.
But let's go back to early 2021, and you can see the evolution of Tucker on the vaccine question. Now the issue is for Tucker that this idea of encouraging people to get vaccines, it could ultimately lead to eugenics. Back then, it was like, hey, wait a second, why aren't white people getting it first?
Racial and ethnic minority groups are disproportionately represented in many essential industries. End quote. In other words, it's entirely racial. They're making a decision based on race. Kathleen Dilling's presentation concludes that doling out life-saving medicine on the basis of skin color would, quote, mitigate health inequities. Of course, it would kill people, and she effectively concedes that. But the people it would kill come from a disfavored race, so it's not a big deal. It's been a very long time since anyone close to what we consider the mainstream has endorsed eugenics, which is exactly what that is, eugenics.
So, to be clear, eugenics is when you encourage people to get vaccines. And eugenics is when you prioritize eugenics no matter what. Hence, it's eugenics, tails.
And he just was, just a second that, he was just laughing off the history of the United States and our conquest, which involved varieties of eugenics and genocide for the non-white people. So, he just wants to fear-monger and use the word eugenics without obviously connecting it to any context.
But yeah, the lesson he wants to make any facts sort of go towards is that liberals are attacking white people.
There you go. Exactly. And you give me any set of facts, says Tucker. This is Tucker Carlson challenge. Be presented with any type of facts and not include that this is a democratic white race war.
Oh, come on, though. He's just an anti-war voice. And somebody would be connected from the left, right?
Exactly.
All roads lead to white genocide.
Speaking of other wars, basically shoveling out their own sort of propaganda garbage, here is Cole Wallace with a very interesting perspective on people's scrutiny or questioning of the U.S. intelligence agencies. Remember, she worked in the George W. Bush administration.
And on the McCain campaign.
And on the McCain campaign. This is, people may not recall this, but there was a lot of different spying by U.S. intelligence agencies, a lot of different controversies over their spying. In fact, people may not remember this too. This goes all the way back 40 years ago, or 50 years ago, where it's something called COINTELPRO, which is also a little bit of a problem in terms of spying. But here's Nicole Wall.
This outreach to Russian intermediaries could have been the basis for NSA surveillance. While many questions still remain, what is clear is that Carlson's dangerous accusations have added to a growing chorus of distrust in our country's intelligence agencies, all started during the presidential transition by the disgraced ex-president. Joining our conversation, Frank Figluzzi, former Assistant Director for Counterintelligence at the FBI, now the host of the Bureau podcast, and MSNBC National Security Analyst, and Andrew Weissman, former FBI General Counsel, a former senior member of the Mueller investigation, now an NYU law professor, and lucky for us, MSNBC legal analyst. Frank Figluzzi, talk about who the NSA listens to, and say if I wanted to interview, I don't know, if I had wanted to interview Ahmadinejad or Vladimir Putin myself, what would that sort of expose me to in terms of anyone potentially hearing those efforts?
Yeah, the NSA is perhaps the most secretive agency.
The idea that, first off, I'm not surprised that the NSA may be monitoring Putin or people around Putin and calling in to get swept up into that dragnet. It's not the very spies on the Russian, of course. Right. And the with, Trump, Trump appointee, that chain of don't say they have your correspondence with people to try and get into it. See, the real question would be, are they soaking up other stuff of Tucker Carlson? The idea that distrust of the intelligence agencies is a function of Donald Trump is just is a way to essentially say that distrust that we should have for intelligence agencies because of their enormous record of abuse in this country. But in fact, since we have that intelligence agencies, somehow functional Donald Trump. I mean, this is
Well, for her, for her specific project on MSNBC, that's exactly what it needs to be, right? Everything that results in distrust of government is because of Donald Trump. Government functioned perfectly fine before Donald Trump or intelligence agencies when they're indiscriminately mass spying on people. The Obama administration, she largely has no problem with that. I definitely has no problem with that. So the project of what she's trying to put out there is that actually mistrust in our institutions is really, really bad, and that's probably the worst thing that Donald Trump did.
I feel like that only was like 17 different intelligence agencies in Russia. I think there's a lot of people who are lost who expected that kind of decisive swear to heaven that nobody cared. I didn't think that was
right.
Yeah, and I mean the idea, Brendan was pointing out in our little chat here, that somebody who works for the Bush administration is going to pretend as if there is no reason to be distrustful in intelligence agencies. I mean, I'm sure that's what she's convinced herself of, because that's the only way that I think one can sleep at night and feel part of that. Yeah.
Go to the phone, call from 857 area code. Who's this way calling? 857. 857. Once.
Blowing it.
Calling from 514. Who's here?
Hi, Sam. My name is
What?
I've been a long time.
I can't tell what the first letter is.
My name is
L-O-U. Okay, yeah, you sound a little bit, it's a little bit hard to hear.
is it better now?
Yeah, just try to get a little closer to the phone.
That's a good one. Okay. So I'm calling you from Montreal. I'm Lisa, and I'm going to talk about what happens in the
Okay?
Yes, I'm sorry for your Stanley Cup
I
loss.
don't think you saw the Washington. Okay, I don't think you saw the Washington Post article. It's for your girls where they for the
That doesn't seem right.
I just want to know. Yeah, and I just wanted to know what you think about it.
I mean, I think that the U.S. is going to end up being a surrogate for United States interest there. And I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, after talking to Steve Pascal, I don't really have a sense of what the best situation would be.
Yeah, but the reason I think it was like you know, you want to order them and
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing what you're saying.
wait.
There you go. That's
I'm
right.
not saying like if you want to make a love cake,
Okay, you said you want.
if you want love, if you want to make a cake, it's going to come from you. But that's why when I was saying, it's 24. Thanks, April. Yeah, that's why I was thinking like that.
They'll probably ask you, yes, I think they're asking for expanded authority to, minister or observe the elections, or maybe they're, there with some expanded mandate, right? I mean, that's usually what it is. It's not just a question of absolute physical presence. It's a question of like, what permission do they decide to apply for, students or advisors or whomever it is there.
Yeah, but they created the church. Anyway, okay. Okay, sorry.
Call from a 561 area, but it's a pretty common.
Hi, Minnie.
This is a very common.
Hi. How you doing, Cynthia? It's my name's Emma. I was had Emma as well.
What's your name?
Ellis.
Ellis, okay. Where do you come from, Ellis?
I'm from Delaware, Florida.
Ellis, okay. What's on your mind?
So my question is about Biden State Union infrastructure bill.
Okay.
When I watched sorry.
Go ahead.
When I watched the State of the Union, it talked about universal child care. I was wondering if that was on the infrastructure bill.
We don't know. There are two tranches to the Biden infrastructure bill, right? As you roll them out. And we just don't know what is, now that framework is different. Now we have a bipartisan bill that is more sort of like bricks and mortar style infrastructure. Then you have the House and Senate coming up with a bill. Sanders is trying to push for a $6 trillion bill. Others are trying to push for a $2 or $3 trillion bill. We just don't know what's in it. The only thing that we see any indication of is for just like what's in, what's out. There's all the indications from Adam Carden and Nancy Pelosi that what they're dropping Medicare ages out, expanding the nature of Medicare coverage is in. So we'll have a dental vision. So, but beyond that, you know what? We just give it anybody right now. We'll have a better sense of that in the future.
All right, so I think that that's something that makes for America is great for us to talk about politics or voting family.
Look, the bottom line is, if there is a $4 trillion, $5 trillion bill that comes out of the House and the Senate as part of reconciliation, in addition to the $1 trillion bill that the bipartisan groups are going to come out with, there's going to be stuff in there that's going to be amazing for America. I mean, really, they just don't know yet. Those numbers are not shake off.
I'm 22. I graduated. I feel technically in politics. I'm a politics guy, so
What thing else? I don't know.
yeah.
All time,
All right.
history also. Very much.
Thank you, Cynthia. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you. You're big stuff. Let's take one more call here. Call to a 615 area code. Who's this one calling?
Is this me?
Yes, it's
I am a Lackley from Alabama, and I shall be with Lackley High from Alabama. Yeah. Yeah. So I want your Yaron versus Tuesday. I want you to I just want to add you
yes, you're rolling.
Oh, here. Anyway, I want to say one point that there were several points, but the one that stood out to me the most when we were addressing slavery, and you mentioned how you could hear several authors about slavery, about how you are responsible for the exile experience by various countries around the world, developing, what are not developing countries that were developing that from slavery and the slave triangle, like Matt said. So I just wanted to say that I think that is it. I don't know if we all spoke this word, but I think that is it did come over education, given the fact that slavery, while yes, can use to generate capital formation, does have several detrimental effects technologically and industrially. In fact, slavery actually exhibits technological advancement. And I have some beautiful evidence, like detailers. I have
I mean, the idea that if I have free labor, endless supply of free labor, it's a bit common. So I don't have to develop a mechanized cotton business. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't seem terribly profound.
But what is the point then to say that slavery is used, that slavery was a driving force in industrialization and economic growth?
This is like a project.
Like, tobacco would not have been possible without slavery, without plantation slavery. Like, so whether it had later effects on depressing the industrial development, whatever, it's just not good. It just gave you the chance to do it. That's what the profits were. The profits were not possible without slavery.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not even sure what the point of saying, like, well, on day one, because slavery was involved there, and if your argument is, hey, these folks were hippies because they went to the low hanging fruit of enslaving people and getting free labor, and that's the way that they they could probably make 15 to 20% more had they waited a couple of years for somebody to invent a cotton business. Of course, and let's be clear here, like the option of a plantation owner to go and buy slaves or wait until someone invents a machine that looks up. I don't even understand what is. Do I think that the position is labor that is far more accessible to everybody than machines that hypothetically might exist in the future where they're not free labor? I'm not even sure of, like, aside from that, not the laborers were found. What are the points of that have to do with the argument that's right in the room?
Well, a few things earlier, as you said earlier, that my argument is that, well, they could use way more than know as much as they did certain things. As how it links that from. I'm not even sure what was bringing up in the first place. I didn't bring up,
I didn't bring up slavery and I think that it was really all the parts.
The labor is our, ownership, but it's definitely not. Right. This entire consciousness, that is not the case. And when I got like white people brought over here, the body serve those people that made black the body.
well, first of all, you're going to mention that if you, again, I'm stressing to be when you defend it after you're they got that thing that you then came in and said, oh, well, you like half a dozen off the top of it, that's the case. But the thing is that
You're not actually refuting my point. You're simply saying that
no, I'm not
saying, or if they didn't use slavery, that's a hypothetical that could be possible. But the point is, they did get slaves, and it did drive free labor, did drive the development of a continent, or in the case of Virginia and tobacco, it did provide opportunities for bankers in the north to finance and export before it did.
Like, so this is no ships. That's what, it's certain time from Boston, right? And that's what those ports were important for, because the real money wasn't in slaves to Caribbean and sugar and rum out of it.
Yes, I mean, I don't know. The idea that if I start a YouTube channel and I get a bunch of views and I monetize it, well, that may be the case. If you haven't optimized it, well, okay, so there's going to be 20% more. Even if I stimulate when you're talking about, which I will in the same argument, but I find it a completely irrelevant argument. What
is that you grossly overstate the role that slavery and some states is only responsible for about 5% capital formation. In fact, the role of slavery is more exponential.
I'm sorry, no, but any of these policies, look at the forms of these policies.
This is years. I'm not unable to hear what math I expect math.
Rather than saying that you are not accounting, you're looking at hypothetically.
No, I wasn't doing it.
I'm going to explain to what you're doing. You're looking at hypothetical and it's telling you that there could have been a greater return if they didn't use slaves and they developed the technology. And that's telling you, look at history. Look at the way that people organize themselves. Look at where sources of revenue and economic activity were happening. And you can see that they would import a bunch of slaves. Now, maybe they weren't really efficiently enough, and maybe I overstated the percentage of those people. But in the absence of technology, because of slavery, they have an inhibited technology growth. Doesn't in any way contradict the notion that the economy and that slavery drove all this economic activity.
Yes, it does, because you're responsible for 5% of capital formation. You aren't accounting for the other factors. For example, if you look at the industrial revolution, and you actually find that there is an incentive for industrialization to a rate higher. For example,
Okay, wait a second. You're fine with right. I don't care. I don't care.
Why don't you?
Even if you are 100% right, you said you're 100% right. I grossly overstated the amount that slavery was just more of like there was no economic incentive for anybody to make slaves. Or it was just like a holiday. It was a hobby. It was just out and out racing. What's the problem? I simply
My point is that when you talk about slavery, slavery happens often in the context you're referring to. You're drawing implications from it and not implications from their flawed, but you overstate you. Now it's all they're saying. For example, I was ever saying,
okay, let me tell you something. I don't care. I honestly don't care. I will speculate. But again, slavery, according to, there's two opinions about slavery. One is that it drives and it drove economic activity. And the other opinion is yours, that it's just about specifically wanting to imprison people from Africa and get their food labor because it's more of like a hobby, and they use a status symbol or something like that. Either way, it doesn't really, I guess in your mind, it protects criticism of capitalism. Critique of capitalism. But I would say, no, people are accumulating too much money with that sort of hobby.
Most hobbies are like collecting baseball cards. It doesn't necessarily. Well, I guess they do accumulate, or playing fantasy football. Accumulating